together with our faculty and our staff, it is my delight to welcome you all to this year's Department of Communication Arts Graduate Recognition Ceremony, which we hold in honor of this fine group of graduates seated before you, our class of 2018.
Your knowledge of this field is both deep and broad, and her skills, personality, and capabilities will carry her far.
Stephanie Schulke.
By earning your degree in communication arts, you've honed your ability to communicate effectively, think critically, and solve problems creatively. Or perhaps you've just simply managed to turn all of those little check marks on your DARS report to green, which I think is a feat in and of itself. You can take pride in knowing that you've earned your degree from one of the top communication programs in the world, and from a university that is renowned worldwide. So congratulations to you on your impressive accomplishment. You have met another challenge, one that is unique to our campus. You have conquered the confounding labyrinth that resides at 821 University Avenue, or what is otherwise known as Vilas Hall. Now you might be thinking to yourself, why is my competency in navigating Vilas Hall of any worth to me as I leave the campus of Uw-Madison and forge on into the world? And to answer this question, I argue that just as your academic work has prepared you for success after graduation, so have the challenges embedded within the walls of Vilas Hall provided you with invaluable skills that you will carry for years to come. Allow me to demonstrate by sharing 3 lessons that I have learned from my experience at Vilas Hall. Lesson number 1, persistence. I've devised strategic workarounds. I learned the hard way to arrive at least 15 minutes early on the first day of class to walk the lap or 2 or 3 I will need to find my classroom. And I will admit, I was even lost last Sunday en route to the last final exam of my undergraduate career. You should be grateful. Yes, grateful. Vilas Hall is frustratingly complex, but it is also the site where we learn the value of persistence when facing challenge. The second of 3 lessons I learned from Vilas Hall is adaptability. As a sophomore, I returned to campus operating under the assumption that I had acclimated to the layout of Vilas and the campus more broadly. To my chagrin, I soon discovered that while away for the summer, the university demolished the most utilized and visible linkage of Vilas to the rest of the campus, our beloved pedestrian bridge. This single redeeming element of Vilas' design provided momentary elevation above the traffic and noise of University Avenue and convenient paths to the heart of campus. Now, with the unceremonious demolition of our beloved pedestrian bridge, we Vilasites were relegated to street-level status. We found ourselves dodging buses, bikes, cars, and even worse, subject to waiting for the omniscient street gods who control your fate through uttering the sacred words, "Walk sign is on to cross park." Perhaps it was valuable in learning how to adapt in the face of change. The final and perhaps most important lesson I have learned through my relationship with Vilas Hall is the value of curiosity. On the surface, we all share a common distaste for the outdated, cemented, brutalist construction that is Vilas Hall. However, I believe we also share a deep admiration for the brilliant scholars, innovative teaching, and critical research that takes place within its walls. All it takes to find this richness is the initial desire or curiosity to open the doors and explore.
This is David Muir.
You know, I came to celebrate your academic achievements, but I also came because the University of Wisconsin-Madison is supposed to be a lot of fun. Thank you for that stop at Mickey's Dairy Bar today. I want you to continue to ask the tough questions long after you leave this incredible university. I'm fully aware that as I stand up here before you today, before you and your family and your friends, this day is filled with excitement, with wonder, but undoubtedly it is filled with tremendous fear. Admit it. Fear of the unknown, fear of finding that first job, fear over whether it will all work out just exactly as you have it planned. Well, I'm here today, I hope, to encourage you really to embrace the fear. There will be so many moments in your life when you walk through a door and into something unknown, something new, and that sense of fear really will overwhelm you. One of my earliest memories of fear, one of those first doorways I had to walk through. And the memory comes from childhood. I was just 4 years old. I remember the school bus coming to pick me up, I kid you not, for the first day of kindergarten. I grew up in upstate New York, and so that bus would travel over the hills and through the winding back roads before arriving at school, and I had plenty of time on that bus to second guess this decision to go to kindergarten. I remember arriving at the school, and precisely where that bus came to a halt, I sat in my seat, I did not move, I let everybody else get off the bus. One by one, the students filed off, and there I sat. And the bus driver, she looked at me, and she knew she had on her hands a boy who did not want to go to school. She made a deal with me. She called me up, she said she would walk me to that kindergarten class. She said she'd wait at the door, and if I didn't like it, I could turn around and she would take me home. So we walked down that hallway together, I will never forget it, right to that kindergarten doorway, and I walked into that room. I took about 10 steps in, I looked around me, those little chairs, and then I decided this is definitely not for me. Definitely not. I turned around, I raced back to that door, and I looked down the hallway, and there was no bus driver. I could see her leaving the building. How could she? But you know what? She did exactly what she was supposed to do. She led me up to that door, and the rest of the work was mine. So here we are today, your professors, your coaches, your parents, they've all helped you walk up to that door, and the question right here as we sit, what will you do when you walk through it? The vast majority of people across the globe and across this country share similar hopes and dreams that we actually have far more in common than what separates us. These are universal hopes. And it was 4 years ago I was reporting from the Syrian border on the child refugees who had no choice but to leave their country because of the war. Their homes had been bombed, their schools destroyed, their families were really chased out by the violence. They left behind their schools, their playgrounds, their bedrooms, everything they owned, and they were now living in tents with their families. And when the sun came up, I was there to witness as these children woke up and they said goodbye to their parents. It was the children, these child refugees, who were going out to work, not the parents. Because the farmers there would hire the children, they could pay them less. And after 6 or 7 hours in the fields, I watched as the children then skipped across the field on their way to a makeshift school. Imagine that, a 7-hour day picking potatoes in the fields and then a full day of school. And they did it with smiles on their faces. They skipped across that field, they were singing, and I know each of them were just simply hopeful that one day they would get their childhood back. And I know that as I sit here today with all of you a world away, those children all have similar hopes and dreams. Because I think that it really reminds all of us of what we have in common with people really all over the world, the hope of school, the hope of a life ahead with opportunity. The young people in this country, your time is here. There is no question. You are the generation who will have your voices heard. But you know, we live in an age when we all have the power to ask questions. We all have the power to make change. And no matter what you choose to do after you leave this great university, I hope you will remember those kids who reached up to me to pick them up. They didn't have a voice that day, but all of you sitting right here have a voice. You know, we all use our phones to document our own lives, but I'm going to challenge you today, not just to take pictures of yourselves, but to aim your cameras, your phones on the people in your community, on the victories, the small triumphs. Use your voice to help those who might need a little help with theirs. You will set the examples for the rest of us, and I'm convinced you will conquer your fear. As I started out, for me it was that kindergarten doorway, the bus driver walking me up to the door and leaving the rest to me. Your parents, your family, your professors, your fellow Badgers right here in this stadium have all helped you to get to that door, to get to this moment. Now it's just time to walk through the doorway. And if you look back behind you when you walk through that door, For me, it was that bus driver I saw, but I hope that you'll see every single one of us cheering you on, myself included. We will celebrate together, the Badger way, and we will celebrate the fear you face down to make it all happen. On Wisconsin.
College of Letters and Science will please rise. On the recommendation of the faculty of the College of Letters and Science, I present these candidates for the following degrees. Bachelor of Arts. Bachelor.
To symbolize your new status as graduates, your tassel is worn on the left. So graduates, please move your tassel.
Staff, get ready. Get out, Shane, get out!